Good morning. We are coming to you today to touch bases. We are in some uncharted territory right now. The entire world is. We've been preaching this since last April. I interrupted a series, and I should have looked up the series I was preaching at the time toward the end of March and the 1st of April. And in my beginning that series, The Hour of Temptation, the hour. And I stated we weren't talking about a 60-minute period of time, but we were talking about a season of time that the world would enter. And we were actually entering into that at the time I brought it up in April. And it was so imperative, I interrupted and began to teach a series. And I think I taught about 6 weeks. I know that I taught up until Seasoned Citizen, that fourth Sunday. And Pastor Petrie, Aaron Petrie, preached for us at the Seasoned Citizen that fourth Sunday in April. Then immediately in May, I went right back talking about the hour of temptation. It was so urgent on me. And we went into a series, and toward midsummer, 1st of August, the Lord began to impress upon me there's going to be a new beginning, and we were going to enter into a time that would be like no other. And about August, September, there were things happening on the internet, and a lot of negative stuff was being put out there, and I basically had to be silent about it because most of all what they were talking about, the different ones, I knew some of what they were talking about because I knew who was talking, but it was so much information that was disinformation, misinformation. It was too all whatever to even address. Matter of fact, it wasn't for me to address because people should come to you and discuss things with you. And having said all of that, the Lord just kept talking about this new beginning. And I was already in a transition because I will not always be a pastor. Now, and I think I can say with confidence, I will never pastor another church. So, the Lord blessed me to have this group, great group. You all are a great group. We have our situations, our circumstances, our conditions. That's life, Not going to agree on everything. And while I'm talking, let me let you know, that's all I'm doing, just talking. This is not a sermon. I'm not trying to have a Bible study. We have, at our church, we've been taught so much. Brother Staggers at the Beatrice, Minister Tim, all of our pastors, Pastor Dale, and Pastor Gail, all of you. I appreciate all you. It's not one of you I do not appreciate. And so we can make it these few little weeks of not coming together. There are so many that have just panicked. When I come back on the first Sunday, just talk about a little of it right now, but on the first Sunday when we come back in April, I'm going to talk about getting an understanding. We're going to have to get now. See, it's time for maturity now. We don't have time for messy folk, messy things, trivial, petty. We're in serious time, and I'm somewhat of a serious person. I think what it is, what God, he's whatever he needs to be when he needs to be it, you know. And I think that's the way we should be. We should be not the same all the time. It depends on the environment. You know what I'm saying? We don't change. I mean, we don't change our beliefs and our, principles. But I'm talking about there's a time to laugh. There's a time to have a mixture of laughter and crying. Sometimes you can cry, laugh while you're crying. You know what I'm saying? We're going to be talking for a minute. So when you see this, although you're watching it on viewing it on the platform of YouTube, not everybody can see this. Okay, as an editor on YouTube, I've had an account. I forgot how many years, and we have that I list, and I have them all listed on the Tower of Power. Probably 1,100 clips, sermons, songs, praise dance, a whole lot of different things. I've even done recordings for other churches, like Transformation, Gideon, I can't think of his name right now. I'll think of it in a minute. Wonderful musician, had the group Gideon, AJ Simmons. I've recorded for them. I've done things at Christ Nations and a whole lot of things. But I have all these clips on YouTube. And, probably when you add up all the views from the different clips, you're looking at over a 250,000, probably 300,000 views on the various clips. So, at any rate, this is a link that I'm sending to Sister Nona. And when she sent out the text, you'll be able to click on that link. That's the only way you'll be able to get to it. You can't go to YouTube and search for this clip. And I'm just calling this, I'm going to title the clip. The clip is entitled Words of Wisdom. I'm just going to call it Words of Wisdom. So let me just talk for a second. In February, I taught a lesson. It was February 2nd, Occupy Until I Come. Occupy. When the Lord tells us to occupy until he comes, that deals with commerce, buying and selling, trading. Recessions come by when we have fear and we hold on to money and we won't buy because we think, okay, I can't do that right now. But you always look and see if you can afford it. Look at your circumstance. Don't look at the other circumstance. It's just like right now. Your job been shut down, more than likely. The income has been cut off. And those that are in authority are working on getting these jobs back up. And they're not bailing these companies out. Now, the big, large companies, they're not bailing them out. What they're going to do is make money available for them. It'll be in the form of no interest loans, okay? So if a company need for the next, because they already been shut down maybe a week or so, they'll probably be able to borrow enough money to retro, if they hadn't paid workers, they're going to pay their workers, because this is going to be some of the conditions and the money that the taxpayer money that's going to do this. They will get their monies and they have to agree not to lay anybody off. And the job, for instance, just whatever, if you work at Cooper Tire, or Cooper Tire is a multi-billion-dollar international company. And so if they need some money, if Cooper Tire borrows money, which I doubt if they are, but if they borrow money to pay workers and overhead and all that, they will have to pay it back. It's not bailout like the last time we had the housing crisis, because the housing crisis, now I told you I'm just talking, so I'm going to be talking for a minute. The housing crisis was caused by our federal government. It was not caused by Wall Street. It was not caused by the big banks. It was not caused by risky this, risky that. Well, it was risky, but they were forced. Well, and that's what many people don't realize. There was some legislation that, and people can be well, they can mean well, but you just can't give people a lot of stuff free. So you call it free, or give it to them to people that, or make it available that can't afford it. And that's what happened with the housing. Just plain and simple. They had some good intentions to let people be able to own a house. Cause ownership of a home, that's a great thing, But I preached a message just a few weeks ago about that prodigal son. And I said in that message, which is better, access or ownership? Access to a bank account or ownership of that bank account. Access to the mansion or ownership of that mansion. If I can have access to the mansion, have a room in that mansion, live in that mansion, well, I don't have to pay no rent. I don't have to pay no utilities. I'd rather just have the access to it. You see what I'm saying? So that was the principle, because I can't re-preach it. Sometimes it's good to have access to something, because ownership carries responsibility. So if you get the house, you get the mansion, well, it's going to need the roof. It's going to be yours. But if you were leasing, or you had access to the property for whatever reasons, even if you were renting, your responsibilities are limited. So at any rate, that was the principle. So that's where we are now. The federal government back then, what they did in that housing crisis, they forced through regulations, banks, lending institutions, the government, FHA, Freddie Mae, they had Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, something like that. It's two different. One was for domestic loans and another for foreign loans. So anyway, so what the banks had to do was bundle, because people were getting loans that really couldn't afford them. They were not paying anything down. Not only were they letting them get the home, they were getting $10, $15, $20,000, extra that was supposed to be used to update, upgrade, and many times that repair work or remodeling work, it didn't ever happen. So the property really wasn't as valuable as they were selling it for. And to get people in it, they would have variable rates, and it would be like a balloon payment. If the interest rate went up, your payment went up. That was an individual that I personally knew. They got a wonderful home in a wonderful neighborhood. Was paying something like, I think, $750 a month, and it was like a dream come true. But it had a variable rate, and also, I think after 5 years, after 10 years, it had a balloon payment, and then you'd have to refinance or something like that. It was, they came up with all these different ways to get people in homes. And so interest rate went up. I mean, it didn't go up like 2 points or nothing. It went up like 0.5% or whatever, and then another 0.5%. So after about 4 years, that $750 house note was $1,400. And so, that's like, it took everything to keep that going. So, but at any rate, it was the government with these regulations to force banks to make sure people with, lower incomes that really couldn't afford it. If they had just had a fixed rate and not all of these elaborate ways or whatever. So once they start failing, So what the banks had to do is bundle all these together and try to sell them to somebody else and see if they could sell them. In Wall Street, they began to bundle these, foreclosures instead of foreclosing, because the bank doesn't need a house. Bank doesn't want a house. Bank wants somebody making a payment. And so they would bundle all of this. Say for instance, they would bundle up 100 homes or whatever. And then even foreigners would buy these bundles. And of course, they were guaranteed, and so they were subprime. So, but at any rate, that's the long and short of it. And the market crashed. That's why the government gave these banks and Wall Street, a lot of people on Wall Street, a lot of money, and nobody really went to jail because it really wasn't their fault. They were through regulations was forced to loan this money. So at any rate, here we are now. No fault of the businesses. They've been told to shut down because of the virus. So let me talk right quick. Occupy till I come. There has to be commerce. There has to be buying and selling. Currency, money. It's called currency because it's a movement. Currency, money, a dollar bill. That's currency. It's got to exchange. You have to give that dollar bill for a dollar worth of services or a product, and that's what makes everything work. When you go to your job, it's to make that dollar bill. You make that dollar bill so you could buy whatever it is or service you need, and you exchange that money for that service or that product, okay? So, the Lord said, I'm going to give one man 5 talents, and in the scripture, $5,000. Well, each talent was $5,000. So 5 talents would be $25,000. One man, he gave 1 talent, which is 5,000. And he gave it, the Bible said the Spirit is the one that divided it severally as he will, according to our abilities, several abilities. So depending on your abilities, that's how you receive from the Lord. He has no respect of a person. I don't care what your education is. And sometimes those with less of a formal training or learning, he'll entrust more to them because of their abilities. You see what I'm saying? So, Occupy Telecom. I preached that in February on the second Sunday. And when we get back, if you want to get copies of this, I don't want to overburden Sister Nona with sending out an email. She could send out an email and send you copies of this, but we don't want to go that route because this is not what I'm doing right now. We want to do this for a month. We'll be back in service first Sunday. You that want to come, occupy. You don't have to occupy. So the minute that people start going back to work, I know you won't have money for certain things, but you're going to begin to have money. They're looking into giving each household, each adult, $1,200 a piece. So if there is a family of 4, that's $2,400 for the husband and the wife, then $500 for each child. Okay, that's $3,000 right there. That's actually to get you, because April is going to be a payment in April. If there is something that you're receiving, most of us filed income tax last year, so you'll get it direct. You'll get it quick. It'll come direct to your bank account if you had direct deposit. We that's on Social Security and Medicare, if you're on Medicare, anything that you're getting direct deposit or payment from the federal government, you're going to get it very quick. And it's a blessing. It's not going to take care of everything, but it gets you through this hump. I guarantee you, the president is going to lift a lot of these CDC regulations as far as mandatory, because people need to get back to work. The economy needs to get back to work. You just mark my words. So I'm recording this. I've been to Walmart this morning. If you're 60 years and older, on Tuesday morning, they'll let you in an hour before anybody else to keep down on the hustle bustle. And so all of us senior citizens were out there. No, you don't have to line up. You just, walk right on in. They got people at the door. They're not letting, anybody under 60 in. So one of my classmates was going in, and she had her driver license just in case. And I did the same thing. I said, because that's funny because they recognize the fact you 60. So there was some people shopping, and somebody said, "Hey, Reverend Watson." I didn't really know who they were, and I said, "How are you doing this morning?" And somebody else was speaking, and the clerks were speaking, and we were all in good spirits. I said, "Well, you know what?" I said, "At least we know everybody in here is 60 years old, at least." And so everybody kind of laughed, and so couldn't nobody hide the fact that they were at least 60. So anyway, I did my shopping, and I was going back to my truck, and I was unloading my groceries or whatever. And one of the guys who was just getting off from work, he said, "Well, were you looking for maybe water or paper towels or tissue?" I said, "Yeah, it was all out." He said, "Yeah, the shelves empty." He said, "But the truck just pulled up. Matter of fact, they getting ready to pull the paper towels and the tissue and the cornbread and whatever else and stuff like that. They're getting ready to pull it in." And I was tempted to go back in, but I'd already been in that store long enough. And so I kind of know the routine. So what you can do is get there at 7 if you're not 60 any day. I think they open at 7. Get there, I think, and check it out. They may open at 6. But I know you can get in at 6 if you're seeing citizen on Tuesday. And just get there early that morning. And hopefully you can, get what you need. All right. Occupy. Buying and selling. Right now, because of the way things are, people are holding on. And it's understandable. We're not in a recession now. They're holding on. They're holding off buying certain things. Now they're buying food, necessities, wipes, and disinfectant and all that. But as soon as this stay at home, no school, and all that's lifted, we need to not live in fear. People are going to need to begin to buy. I'm not talking about just your food and trying to pay your utilities. You need to do all that. But once your income gets back up, and you may be a little behind on some things, but as soon as possible, if there was something you were needing to buy, you need to buy it. And if you were going to charge it or have to charge it, make sure you're not going to leave it on your credit card or on a bill for no 12 months. If you can't pay for it in at least 3 months, don't buy it. But we definitely need people buying again. It's not enough just to go back to work. We're going to need you spending money. And so, at any rate, occupy until they come. Trading, selling, buying. Then we preached. Now that was first Sunday in February. Then we preached the last Sunday because within there I took sick. I had the flu. I had a real bad case of something. And I will confess, back then we didn't know what we know now. And it's possible many of us could have had what we thought was just flu. Just, regular influenza, that people catch all the time. But it could have been the virus that's out now. Some people have no symptoms, no fever, no coughing, nothing. Asymptomatic, okay, no symptoms. Some people have mild symptoms. So you thought you may have just had the flu. So let me tell you what's a good thing now. I had really something kind of mild for about a week. Was it a week, I believe? A few days. And matter of fact, it was a few days, and I felt better. I hadn't even texted anybody to preach or nothing that Sunday. This was like on Tuesday. No, I got off out of church that Sunday. I started feeling a little bad that Sunday night, Sunday evening. And it kind of was on me till Wednesday. And then I started feeling better. So I still hadn't called anybody, texted anybody. And so what happened was I developed a fever. And for one day and one night, I felt real bad. I was aching. I was coughing. But I didn't have like respiratory like pain or discomfort or nothing like that. So, but the cough was like, my throat, it was like I kept getting something right here. And I think it was the sinus. But here's my point. That fever broke that night, like a Thursday night. Man, I felt so much better. I said, wow, this is great. It's like, I'm great. I don't have to miss church. I don't have to call somebody and say, hey, you don't have to worry about it. I will do it, because I hadn't called anybody. And I got to thinking, and I said, well, because like I said, it wasn't like what it is now. See, back then, if I'd had all this and then they'd have told us about all of this symptoms and all that, I definitely wouldn't have come. So, you'd have had a real bad bout with the flu, and you thought it was just a bad case of the flu. You probably had the virus that's out right now. Okay? If you have, you in such great shape, because all of that suffering you went through, all that coughing and all of that discomfort you went through, now you got these antibodies in you, and you really don't have to worry like some people have to be. Now, you're still going to be cautious washing your hands and, all this type of thing. But you ought to just kind of be at ease. Hey, I had a mild form. You can look at it like that, because some people have just a mild form. It's just like you just had, sinuses, for us, regular flu. And some people have no symptoms. Now, that's the one that's dangerous, the one with no symptoms, because they're interacting with somebody and they don't know that they're spreading it, okay? That's why they wanted to shut down for 2 weeks. It takes from the time you come in contact, and say if you contract it, there's a 2-week period of incubation and whatever where you give it to somebody else. So if we could just get off that 2 weeks. So anyway, here we are. It's my opinion, when this coming Sunday, the 5th Sunday in March, when it comes, the CDC is going to begin lifting some of these regulations. Now, schools won't be going back yet, and they shouldn't. But some jobs within a week from Sunday, or immediately during that week, especially maybe a week, that following week, that first week, because that'll be the first week in April, next week, you're going to see a lot of things lifted. See, we can't for long not go to work, okay? It's just that simple. I knew that. That's why I said last Sunday that we'll be back for a Sunday. Because just like jobs can't stay shut down, restaurants can't stay shut down for a month, 2 months, 3 months. The federal government, the money that they're giving now, it's money that the government doesn't have. See what I'm saying? So they're loaning it. Now, the money they're giving us, we're taxpayers. Well, they're just trying to set this up. We won't pay any more taxes on the payroll taxes the rest of this year. Okay. Long story short, last Sunday, when the water here in Texarkana was shut off, this is what I preached. Now, mind you, I was preaching this before the water went off, before there was no foreknowledge that because the main, something broke or something. So I didn't take the circumstance and preach something. What I preached, the Lord gave me. This is what I preached. Sealed instruction. Sealed. S-E-A-L-E-D, seal, like a protective seal. Jesus told John while John was writing, he said, seal it